Welcome to my dojo. This is Kung Fu Pizza Party, and I'm your host, Brandon Knight. And today is a coming soon edition of the show. Throughout this episode, I'm going to be looking forward to what is coming out here throughout the rest of 2026, highlight a few films coming out in 2027, and then you're going to want to stick around to the very end of this episode where I am going to talk about next year's theme. That's right, the 2027 Kung Fu Pizza Party theme. Here on Kung Fu Pizza Party, I seek to deliver high-flying action in 30 minutes or less and serve up some wisdom one slice at a time. So let's get this coming soon started with one of the two reasons why all this year Kung Fu Pizza Party is going to the arcade. Street Fighter. Street Fighter is still scheduled to come out on October 16th, so a mid-October release for Street Fighter. This has not changed whatsoever. There has been no drastic changes towards the release of Street Fighter as opposed to a certain other movie that came out this year but was supposed to come out last October. I'm looking at you, Mortal Kombat. It was probably about this time last year when I did the coming soon episode, and I was like, hey, Mortal Kombat 2 dropped a trailer. It looks great, coming out in October. By the way, the Street Fighter cast listing broke the internet, and then like 3 weeks later, I had to do another coming soon to say, hey, so yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 has been postponed for 6 months. Bummer. Anyways, but that's not the case at all with Street Fighter. Street Fighter has remained pretty consistent throughout this past year of just consistently putting out stills, trailers, reels, clips, posters. Like they've just have kind of keep on keeping on kind of thing. So thank you for that, Street Fighter. I have maintained from the get-go 2 things. One, this movie looks bananas, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like, this movie looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And 2, I like Street Fighter. I'm nowhere near as engrossed in the lore as I am in other fighting games. So I am going to let the diehard Street Fighter fans tell me if the how is the casting looking for everybody. And I have heard a few things. Of people pushing back on some of the casting. So one of those being 50 Cent as Balrog. I have heard one creator describe it as 50 Cent as Balrog is like a hair below racist. Good to know. Joe Day and I were talking about, Joe was on the show a lot earlier this year to do Mortal Kombat episodes. Joe and I were talking about the cast, and because he wasn't really up to date on what was going on with Street Fighter, and Joe's a big pro wrestling fan, so when he found out that Haruki Goto of New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to play, E Honda, Joe was like, well, that seems a hair below racist. So Street Fighter so far is starting to sound like it might be a hair below racist. So just file that one away, everybody. I've also seen some people push back against Andrew Schultz as Dan Hibiki, but because Andrew Schultz is insufferable. But some people have responded to that by pointing out that Hibiki is also insufferable. Like, in a way, this is like being seen as like a meta casting of like Andrew Schultz is basically just going to play himself. So, okay, I'm also not the biggest fan of Schultz, but I can see the connecting point here between the character and the person. So, okay. The one that people have come for that I'm actually not about, and I will put a flag down on this one, everybody. Cody Rhodes is Guile. Why are we upset about this one? Literally, what other platinum blonde skinny dude would you want to play Guile? Also, some people are like, oh, he just looks ridiculous as Guile. Yeah, Have you seen Guile, the video game character? His haircut's stupid. What did you think was going to happen? Do you want him to look like Van Damme, who barely looked like Guile to begin with? Like, what? What exactly do you want? And I have no proof of this, but I bet you that these people who are complaining about how Cody Rhodes looks as Guile are the same people who always complained about how the MCU was constantly jacking up superhero costumes and they were never comic book accurate. Now you have a comic book accurate, or not comic book, but video game accurate Guile, and you're going to be upset about it? Like, come on. The hair is ridiculous. So what? That's what he looks like. So either way, very excited for what is probably going to be a bit schlocky. I am not expecting this movie to go over. I'm not expecting this movie to go over well with fans and with critics, so that means it's going to go well. My expectations are low, but that means everybody's going to love this kooky, crazy movie that is, again, set for October 16th. I got a lot of movies that we could talk about here in today's episode, but I got to watch my time because, as I've promised, there will be a big announcement here at the end of the episode. And so, no skipping ahead. I guess you can 2x speed this to get to that part. But so I got to watch my time. A lot that could be talked about here today. So let's do a quick roundup of other movies coming out here in 2026 that I may not review all of these for the show. Probably most of them aren't going to get reviewed, but they've caught my attention, so we should at least talk about it. So it's July. And we are just days away from what could be the big movie of the summer, The Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan. And then just another week or two later, we've got Spider-Man Brand New Day. When it comes to The Odyssey, I'm not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan, admittedly, but if anybody was going to do a fantasy epic, like one of these, like, classic pieces of literature, Greek mythology kind of stuff, yeah, Christopher Nolan was the right pick. So I'm the only other guy I could really think who could do something like that is the name escapes me, but the guy who's doing the Dune films, with of course Hans Zimmer doing the score, Denis Villeneuve. I totally butchered that, I betcha. Villeneuve. Dennis. How's your first name Dennis and your last name is Villeneuve? Anyway, it's French. That explains it. Actually, everything about that last name makes sense for it being French. Anyway, it's not that guy. It's Christopher Nolan. But I'm not going to rush out to theaters to see this one personally, but it does look good. I definitely will check it out at some point. I wish I could say the same about Spider-Man. Sorry, Marvel fans. I've liked the Sony MCU Spider-Man Tom Holland trilogy, and there's nothing necessarily wrong about the trailer I've seen for Brand New Day. I popped for the scene with Punisher in it. I'm one of those OG MCU fans who has just gotten burnt out and fallen off the wagon a while ago. I don't think, outside of Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't think I've seen an MCU film since like 2022, 23, somewhere around there, right around Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I've not seen that one, and everything since then. And it's not for a lack of interest. Like I've heard that Thunderbolts was really good. I heard Fantastic Four was really good. I couldn't even tell you how many of these shows I've missed now. I know I finished She-Hulk, and I liked She-Hulk. Again, it isn't like I haven't enjoyed certain things. I loved Deadpool and Wolverine, probably because it was ode to Fox, and that was like my thing there for a while. Anyway, best of luck to Spidey. I hope, for those of you who are excited for the movie, I hope you enjoy it. Like, I don't have any reason to not like it. I still can't get myself motivated to run out and see everything Marvel anymore. And every time there's like one on the horizon, there's like a week or two after the trailer drops. And I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the catalyst to get me all caught up. And that doesn't happen. August. Let's move on to August, almost the very end of the month. August, I think 28th, maybe. Legend of the White Dragon. This movie has been in developmental hell for a while now. It's been stuck there for at least 2 years because in the very first Coming Soon, I talked about this movie. It was going to come out that weekend, and it ended up getting postponed. For those of you who are unaware of what this film is or don't remember me talking about it 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, Legend of the White Dragon is Jason David Frank, the late, great Power Rangers actor Tommy Oliver. It is his final film. And that's part of the reason why they've been slow to release this movie, as opposed to when other actors die and they're like, shove as many things out as possible. That apparently part of the delaying has been making sure that this film is very polished as a way to really honor the legacy of Jason David Frank. This is his attempt and some of his OG Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and Power Ranger Expanded Universe co-stars attempt to give the OG Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fans a grittier, darker sci-fi martial art movie. This is not an officially licensed Power Rangers project. This is not Power Rangers, but you watch the trailer and it's obviously supposed to be in the style of Power Rangers. I mean, he's the White Dragon after all. Like, come on, guys. You might as well have called it the Green Dragon. Like, anyway, so like I said, him and several, I think Jason Fountain's in it. A couple other former Power Rangers actors and actresses are in the film. And it looks like I just checked right before I sat down to record. I've been checking frequently. It is set to come out late August, rated R. So for all of you OG fans who have been waiting for the darker, grittier Power Rangers, here you go. Not officially licensed, but I hope it lives up to what you're hoping for. And apparently it is going to get a theatrical release. I was kind of surprised about that. I thought it was going to be some kind of like streaming or, available exclusively Blu-ray thing, but yeah, it's supposed to be coming to theaters, so I'll keep my eye out for it. If any of my I'm assuming it's going to get a pretty limited run, so if one of the theaters in my area gets it, I will do my best to support this film outside of the OG Power Rangers fan base and the martial art pop culture nerds who listen to this show. I don't know how many people are really like gunning to go see this kind of a film, so if it is playing in my area, I want to make sure to support it and tell you all about it. September, about mid-September, the latest attempt, third time's the charm, to reboot the Resident Evil franchise, which we've talked here and there about throughout this year as part of the Going to the Arcade series. I don't have a lot of skin in the game towards this movie, but it looks like, and some creators online have confirmed this assumption for me, that they're gonna go more horror. It looks like it's going to be Resident Evil 2 and darker, grittier, actually a horror movie and not just schlocky sci-fi action. And speaking of schlocky sci-fi action, stay tuned in October as part of spooky season. I am planning on doing a review of the OG Resident Evil film starring Mila Jovovich and Michelle Rodriguez, and maybe I'll give Pixel a call and see if she wants to come do that review with me. A little schlocky sci-fi horror action for everybody. Skipping now forward to November. We already talked about October. In November, The Way of the Warrior Child. This is a Apple TV Plus film starring Chris Pratt. Go ahead and groan. I know everyone's burnt out on Chris Pratt. Starring Chris Pratt, based on a book about a kid who's being bullied and his Navy SEAL uncle, who I'm assuming is going to be Chris Pratt, teaches this kid some martial arts as a way to help him build confidence and take care of himself. And, you know, I think the Chris Pratt burnout is a little, I think some people get a little dramatic with it, but I'm kind of into the idea of this movie, mostly because I do think Apple TV Plus has the most underrated original content. You know, it's easy to talk about how great Netflix programming is. Apple TV Plus has some of the best quality original content. And especially, I don't talk about this stuff too often here on this show, but, you know, producer Cooper and I, we watch our fair share of the children's programming on there. Top shelf stuff, folks. Like, it's definitely in the vein of, like, 90% of their program. I haven't watched every single thing on there, but like 90% of their kids programming is definitely of the cozy variety, the low stimulation variety, and it's very good. I really enjoy it. If you don't have kids, but you grew up reading Frog and Toad, yo, go on Apple TV Plus and just turn on the animated series. You're not going to regret it. December is going to feature the Battle of the Badass Santa Clauses, because that's a thing, apparently, when the Prime original film The Man with the Bag, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, comes out just a few days before Violent Night 2, starring David Harbour, hits theaters. And I'm kind of glad this is happening, because I actually was already planning on doing a little run of movies about badass Santa Clauses. Why are there so many action movies about Santa Claus? I have at least 3, and apparently there's at least 2 more coming out that month, so buckle up. I guess by the end of December, we will determine, listeners, who are some of the most badass Santa Clauses in film history. Cool. Let's rapid fire some of these before we get to the announcement. So 2027 is kind of hard to talk about movies coming out in 2027 because it's like, are they really coming out? So a couple that have caught my attention. The Beekeeper 2, starring Jason Statham, is scheduled for January. I have not seen The Beekeeper because how many times does Jason Statham really need to upgrade or update his resume, folks? But I did hear a lot of good things about The Beekeeper. And apparently it was popular enough to push out a sequel, so that's coming out. And speaking of pushing out sequels, holy crap, Spaceballs 2 is coming out next year. I believe April? Yeah, Spaceballs, the new one, because as opposed to 2 in the original movie where the title is Spaceballs, The Quest for More Money, they found the money. It was in the basement of Mel Brooks' house this whole time. And so this is Spaceballs, the new one, is scheduled for late April. Josh Gad apparently was the guy who pitched the right story to 100-year-old Mel Brooks to finally make a follow-up to the original Spaceballs. And holy crap, they even got Rick Moranis out of retirement to do this movie. They couldn't even pull that off for the Ghostbusters films. Now the door is open for a return to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And yeah, you're gonna have to listen to me talk about Spaceballs. I will bend the rules for that movie. In March, we're getting Godzilla X Kong Supernova. Love that. I love when we use ridiculous adjectives as like titles for movies. Supernova, what does that mean? I don't know, but apparently Space Godzilla has been cast for this movie. Yeah, you heard me right. I do believe that these are real creatures and not CGI monsters. Space Godzilla has been cast for Godzilla X Kong Supernova. Here's a couple additional films that they have been confirmed, but a release date has yet to be announced. So, first off, looking at Kickstarter, Cynthia Rothrock has taken to Kickstarter to once again fund a film, the sequel to her Western martial art film, Black Creek Retribution. Campaign for that has been going for at least a month now, I believe. The the original Black Creek came out and did really well for itself on Amazon charts. Came out like a month after Kung Fu Pizza Party launched. So excited to see another one of those coming out in the not too distant future. Donnie Yen has confirmed via social media that filming has begun for his John Wick spinoff film, Kane, where he plays a blind assassin. How many times has Donnie Yen played a blind guy? Because he was a blind dude in Rogue One as well. Finally, Netflix has announced that there is going to be a Gears of War film and streaming series. The film is going to star John Cena, Batista, and John Bernthal, to all of that I have to say, hell yeah, brother, give me more of that. There's a great chance that I just said all that, and then tomorrow, after you listen to this episode, the movie's going to come out. That's one thing I've found about Netflix, is that you'll read an announcement, completely forget about it, and then it'll show up magically. Or you read an announcement and then it comes out the next day. Like, I wish there was like a way to find a better release schedule. I know Netflix has something on their app that's like release schedule, coming soon kind of thing, but I need something a little bit more like cut and dry than that. So those are some of the things that are coming soon throughout 2026 and into 2027 as well. I don't want to talk too much about 2027 films because card is subject to change by that point. The bad news is, though, listeners, you've gotten to the end of the episode and I kind of lied. Yeah, I'm actually not going to tell you the theme for 2027. I'm going to tell you the themes. Plural. We got 2 for next year. Yeah, that's right. I am so excited. I'm a little bit stressed about it, which is why I've already started putting plans to paper a little bit for this, but gonna be doing 2 year-long themes in 2027. First off, just like this year, there is one particular big martial art film that is tentatively scheduled for all the way in August. So fingers crossed that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 2 actually does come out in August, because next year Kung Fu Pizza Party is taking a sewer vacation. I love that name. It's gross, technically, but I love that name, Sewer Vacation. Each month, I am going to sit down to do an episode specifically related to the world of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I will be reviewing all of the films, including the one that everyone forgets about, TMNT, that came out like 2010s, I think. It's like in between Michael Bay, doing the Michael Bay films, by the way, and the latest Mutant Mayhem film. Going to be doing each of those. I've picked out a series. I picked out a certain pretty popular comic book run from not too long ago to cover, a couple other one-off topical episodes as well. Really excited. If you've been wondering, if you've ever thought to yourself, I think it's kind of weird that the martial art pop culture podcast that has pizza references in it has never done anything Ninja Turtle. Well, once I've done one Ninja Turtles thing, and it was kind of like Ninja Turtles adjacent, to be fair. It's kind of weird. Wonder when they're gonna get to that. There you go. I've actually been sitting on it, so that way I can do a big year-long Kung Fu Pizza Party sewer vacation. But that's not the only series for next year. You see, I got an idea in my head. And the problem is, sometimes I get ideas and I can I can't do that right now, or I can put that off, put that in the notebook, whatever. But then if I give it a name, if I name it, it's like a pet then. Like, I have to do it. And I had this idea, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the name Cinematic Showdowns popped in my head, and I was doggone it. Now I have to do Cinematic Showdowns. So just like Sewer Vacation, each month I am going to sit down to review a film that pits either a couple big named stars or a couple big named IPs against each other. Each month you get a different cinematic showdown. I'm so excited. I've already picked out the episode for each month for Sewer Vacation and Cinematic Showdowns. Excuse me. And what's good news for you all is that if you follow Kung Fu Pizza Party on Instagram, you get to find out this week. Yeah, later this week, there will be a post drop on the Kung Fu Pizza Party Instagram at KungFuPizzaPrty telling you each month what episode is coming out for Sewer Vacation and Cinematic Showdowns. So make sure you're following the show on Instagram so that way you can plan ahead for each of these big showdowns and totally tubular episodes that will make us say cowabunga. There we go. I had to fish that one out a bit. And with all of that in mind and a couple minutes to spare, excuse me, and a couple minutes to spare, I think it's time for us to get out of here. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you are just as hyped for the movies and for next year's themes just as much as I am. I'm really excited for this. I hope it works out. If it ends up being too much, I'll know, hey, don't do 2 series a year, you dingo. But thanks for listening to today's episode. If you haven't yet already, please rate and review this show wherever you get your podcasts. Pass this episode along to a friend, and check out the other shows here on the Anazao Podcast Network like Systematic Geekology, Page and Pixel, Why I Don't Like, and my sister show, My Seminary Life. You can follow the show on Letterboxd, also KungFuPizzaPrty, where you can get a review of the movie before the episode comes out. And check out my YouTube channel, Studio 219, a place for faith and pop culture. This has been Kung Fu Pizza Party, where I've delivered high-flying action in 30 minutes or less and served up some wisdom, one slice at a time.